Well, fire is often in our headlines, from the wildfires in the Cape, the all-too-frequent fires in informal settlements, and the fires at buildings such as the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital in Johannesburg recently. While International Firefighters Day pays tribute to the brave men and women who run toward a fire to help while the rest of us are running away, those further down the line of care are equally important. Burn wounds are particularly vicious, causing physical and often psychological agony for the sufferer. And caring for those with such devastating wounds has become a passion for one nursing sister. Sister Renee Lessing is Clinical Director of Advanced Wound Care at Haute Care, a facility providing home-based care by placing a caregiver in the home of burn and other wound victims. And she joins me now. Sister, thank you so much for your time. You know, it strikes me that you fight fire, but in quite a different way. Not with a hose and a ladder, but with bandages and dressings and care. Talk to us about the wounds that a fire can inflict on the body and what makes them so difficult to treat and heal.
Hi, Sally. It's wonderful to join all of you tonight, and there's so much to talk about in so little time. But the wounds that's inflicted by fire is quite severe, and it's not only physical wounds but also emotional wounds, obviously. And all of these wounds need to be treated, and it depends on how this person has been burnt and what is burnt, you know. Where this person has been burnt. And, you know, there's so much to say in so little time that, you know, the emotional side of things are almost the most important side. And people are not educated to treat wounds at home enough. So there's so much to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
if I can say something.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to ask you about how savvy we are as a nation. I mean, with fire so often in our headlines for many different reasons, you'd think that we're very sussed about fire, but I don't think we are we?
No, we're definitely not. I think people don't think accidents happen, and people don't think this is ever going to happen to them. And when it happens, we are not prepared for that. And you know, I think everybody in their home should have a burn kit. They should have something in their house to treat a burn wound with, because it happens like in two ticks. A diabetic person in their house doesn't feel, they don't have feeling in their feet, they have neuropathy, and they can't feel a hot water bottle that's too hot, and they have blisters on their feet, and the next morning they wake up with a burn on their feet. And suddenly they have in a big crisis.
Yeah. So what are the immediate things you do? Because there are a lot of fallacies around what to do to a burn. I mean, I think back in the day there was talk of butter. What are the 1, 2, 3, the things you immediately do if there's a fire?
Absolutely. The immediate things that we want to do is we want to cool down the wound. We want to remove the thing that has burnt you, the fire or the hot water or whatever is the cause of the burn, the chemical or whatever. Then we want to cool it down, obviously. We want to use running cool water from the tap, at least 20 minutes. We want to run that water over that wound and cool it down, because we want to limit the tissue damage in the tissue.
Ice or water?
No ice. Ice is going to cause more trouble or more damage in the tissue. So we don't want to use ice. We don't want to use porridge. We don't want to use anything ice cold water. We want to use plain tepid tap water. In other words, water between 10 and 20.
Sure. All right, so you've already told us every home should have a burn kit. As soon as there's a burn, put that injury under cool running water for a good 20 minutes.
Absolutely.
And then what do we do? We all know about...
We want to cover that.
Yeah, we know about Burn Shield. Burn Shield is a South African invention. It's a hydrogel. When can we use Burn Shield? When should we consider other options?
Well, the next step would be a hydrogel dressing. We want a hydrogel or a cooling dressing on that wound, or a moist dressing. We don't want to leave that wound open, so anything like a cooling or a moist dressing. If you don't have anything else in your house, you could use cling wrap to close that wound, just to protect it, to keep the moisture in. Honey is honey-based wound care is obviously also very good. If you have honey, everybody should have something like a honey-based ointment in their homes. That is to prevent infection, and it also helps with healing. That's fantastic to have. Burn, a burn needs to be cooled down and kept moist. Any wound should be kept moist. So you should then cover that. The hydrogel dressing can stay on for 24 hours.
All right.
So that's
talk to us about the kinds of burns you're seeing around COVID-19, and this is something that's fascinating.
That's very interesting. We've seen a lot in our practice. We've seen a lot of people panicking about COVID and steaming themselves. There's a lot of word about steaming. So they steam themselves and they burn because they're so panicked. So they steam, and obviously the hot water then falls onto them, and they burn their chests or their stomachs, their upper legs and their genitals. So we get a lot of wounds where we have burns on the genitals, the upper body or the lower body, and the upper legs. So then they land up in the hospitals where there's no beds, and then they need to be treated. So where there's no beds, it helps to have these treatments in your house. So it helps to have these hydrogels, these honey-based ointments like the Malcuras, in your home to treat yourself. Because if you don't have this knowledge of treating yourself, cooling down the wound immediately under running tap water, I cannot get this message across enough. Cool down the wound immediately. Put the moist dressing on it, and then, get to your doctor.
Yeah, so the quicker you act, the better. And I'm just going to end by saying I know that caring for burn wound patients is something you're passionate about. And in honor of our brave firefighters, you are offering free wound and trauma counselling to firefighters who've been burned in the line of duty. I literally have 20 seconds. Just tell us more about that.
Oh, we're so excited. Together with Malcura Wound Care, Haute Care, and Chaplain Joyce Jacobs from the trauma unit at Unitas Hospital have decided to offer free wound care for firefighters that have been injured in the line of duty. So they are welcome to contact us. Our landline is 012-023-0487, or myself at 082-828-2476, and they can contact us, and we will treat them at free of charge. And we challenge everybody else in the country to do the same, to follow the lead and to do the same for our firefighters.
So important.
Because
so crucial.
Absolutely, they've given their lives.
It's such a wonderful gesture, and I know that also your care involves looking after the emotions and the trauma of those scars. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. That was Sister Renee Lessing, Clinical Director at Advanced Wound Care at Haute Care. That's a facility providing home-based care by placing a caregiver in the home of burn and other wound victims.